Hello, students, and welcome to the Beginning Microsoft Excel 2016 workshop. My name is Bill Berquist, and I'll be your instructor. By the time you finish this workshop, you'll be able to perform the following tasks: define Excel 2016, explore the Excel 26 window and identify the various components, enter data into a worksheet, perform basic calculations and use the AutoSum feature, format a worksheet to include widening columns, and lastly, insert and format a basic chart. Now, although this is a beginning Excel workshop, you will definitely benefit even if you're an intermediate or advanced user, as there's lots of tips, tricks, and shortcuts that I want to show you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Excel application window. Okay, here I am at the Windows desktop. What we're going to do is talk a little bit, just real briefly, about the Windows desktop, then we're going to start Excel and sort of explore the application window. I am using the Windows 10 Professional operating system. It shouldn't matter too much. You could be using Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows Vista. As long as you're using version Excel 2013 or higher, you should be good to go for this class. All right, let's go ahead and get Excel started. There's about 2 or 3 ways you can actually start Excel. My favorite way is I have all my icons for my favorite applications right down here on the Windows taskbar. And there's my Excel icon. It's a green X. You can also probably double click, if you probably have one, a Excel 2016 icon on your desktop. I have my icons turned off right now just so make the screen look less cluttered. But yeah, if you have a desktop icon on your desktop there, you can just double click that and that'll start Excel. You can also click your start button, your Windows 10 start button. And there's Excel right there because I recently used it. But if you don't see Excel in here, you can just start typing Excel. Oops, spell it right. Yep, Excel, there's Excel 2016, and I'll click it, and there it is. I'll maximize my window, so it fills up the whole screen, and there's my Excel 2016 application window. Now, what is Excel? Excel is a spreadsheet application where you can create numerical type reports. What are numerical reports? Like budgets and car payments and loan payments and amortization for a house, for a home loan, your bowling team, bowling averages for 10 games last Friday night. Yeah, you can use spreadsheets, a very universal type application that you can use for all types of numerical type reports, payroll reports, taxes, financial reports, for a business like income statement, balance sheet. All that can be done in Microsoft Excel. A very versatile application, and it can also be a little tricky, a little intimidating, because Excel is sort of lots of applications rolled into one. You have to know a lot of business terms. You have to know general computer terms. You have to know, how to do some basic math. Okay, some basic to advanced mathematics. All right, so lots of disciplines rolled into one for this application. Okay, now how did we do this stuff, before an electronic spreadsheet? Well, accountants or bookkeepers would have ledgers, and they would open up the ledger and they'd have pages with all the names of the employees written down the left-hand column, all the other information written across the top, and you would go to each person, each intersection of a column and a row, and type in their information, like Joe Blow, hourly rate $10 an hour, hours worked 40, and then total pay. 10 times 40 is 400. So $400 is their total pay. And that's how we did it back then, using ledgers. The problem is if you made a mistake, or if you had to change something, you'd have to change it in like at least a half a dozen other places, where that you'd have to change the weekly total, the monthly total, the grand total, and it'd just be a mess. And if you missed something, you'd have incorrections on your ledger and inaccurate information. But with a spreadsheet, if I change one number, it changes everywhere throughout the worksheet. Okay, let's take a look at our application window here. At the very top is our title bar, where it has our book 1. Okay, Excel likes to call their files workbooks. There's my login name. There's my close button, all the stuff you usually see in a Windows environment. This is my quick access toolbar with common buttons on there: open a file, print a file, email a file, maybe arrange, new, save a file, undo. I like my undo button. I think we all like the undo feature, right? And you can add buttons to it by clicking your little drop down list there, and you can see the different commands. The ones with check marks are the ones that are displayed. Let's see, I got quick print. To quick print, I got a spell check button. There we go. I can spell check my document now or my worksheet. Alright. Below that is our ribbon. The ribbon is a long strip of buttons. We spend a lot of time on the ribbon, so it's very, very important that you get familiar with that. And you can go through the different tabs, excuse me, and see the different commands. This replaces the old pull-down menus from the olden days, which a lot of you probably haven't even seen before. Whoops. But you got your home tab, your insert tab, page layout. Your file tab opens up what's called your backstage view, and this shows you all of your different files that you've used recently. Okay, your save and your print and your share and your export and all the different things. Okay, we'll go through these kind of one at a time once we get cracking with this worksheet here. We spend most of our time on the home tab. So I'm going to click back on my home tab. There's three cool things I want to show you with the home tab. The first trick is you can scroll through the tabs with the scroll wheel. I'm using a desktop computer to make this video, so I have a scroll wheel on my mouse, and I'm going to use my scroll wheel going back and forth, forward and backward, and I can scroll through all my different tab stops, all my different tabs on my ribbon. Okay. The second trick is I can hide my ribbon. Most people do this by accident. If I double click home, the ribbon goes away. And people are wondering, oh no, what happened to my ribbon? If you click it again, it comes back up temporarily, but when I go back to work down here, it disappears again. You can do this so you can see more worksheet on your screen, I guess, but I don't really use it a whole lot. Most people that contact me and stop me in the hallway, they say, hey Bill, what happened to my ribbon? It went away. Okay, they probably just hit it by accident. You can just double click it and that brings it back again. So double clicking hides it and double clicking brings it back. Alright, so scroll wheel to scroll through your tabs and double click your active tab to hide it and unhide it. And the last thing is to use the access keys. What if you come to work one day and the mouse is broken? How can you access all these commands? How can you access all these commands using using the keyboard? Well, if I tap the Alt key, A-L-T, Alt, in the lower left corner of the keyboard, I get all these access keys up here. And I can hit that letter on the keyboard, like P for page layout, M for margins, then I can down arrow to custom margins, and I can change my margins with the keyboard. Yeah, you can do everything with the keyboard. You don't have to use the mouse for everything. The mouse is great, we love the mouse, but just in case, you have access keys. I'll hit escape a couple times, go back to my home tab. Now below my ribbon is my formula bar. The formula bar is the whole thing all the way across here. It's broken up into two places actually. I have my name box and my input line. And I can click there and you can type in data. We'll get to that once we start building a worksheet, but that's basically your formula bar. Then of course we have the main worksheet area. This is where you build your spreadsheet. This sort of looks like the old time accountant's columnar pads where they put all the names down the left hand side, all the information across the top, then all the actual data in the middle here that corresponds to each record. Alright, and this is our main worksheet area, and it's surrounded by the worksheet frame, which are my letters and my numbers. For you older folks out there, like me, you might remember the old Battleship game from the 70s, and you put those little pegs in the board. This just sort of looks like that, doesn't it? Okay, you had the letters going, actually in Battleship, I think the numbers go across the top and the letters went down the left-hand side. I just had it reversed, okay? But it's basically the old Battleship game is basically a spreadsheet, okay? Alright, the intersection of each column and row is a cell address, or a cell. Each block is called a cell, and I'm using my cell cursor right now, and I'm on cell C2. Column letter always comes first, C2, D5, F12, okay, and I can see right up here where I am. It's also highlighted, and that's my cell address. And whatever cell I'm typing data into or keying data into is called the active cell. So if I want to type my name into G4 and hit enter, and now G4 contains my name, Bill, and that is my active cell. I can hit delete to get rid of that, and it's gone. Okay, this is a pretty big worksheet. If I do control down arrow, I can see I have over 1,000,000 rows, 1,048,576. I did a control arrow, down arrow, to get all the way to the very, very bottom. If I do control up arrow, I'm back up to cell A1. Okay? I can do control right arrow, and that takes me all the way to the end of the columns, which are XFD, and which equates to 16,384 columns. So 16,384 columns by over 1,000,000 rows. That's a pretty big worksheet. I've never seen a worksheet that big, but that's how big it is. I'm going to do a control home on the keyboard, not H, but control home. And control home, I usually call the home cell A1, always takes me back over here to cell A1. Alright, so there's a little bit how to navigate the worksheet. Down here I've got 3 worksheet tabs. I think I changed this. I think the default is 1 sheet per workbook, but you can add multiple sheets. Like you could have a sheet for each month, January, February, March, April, May, June, or a sheet for each quarter, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, or sheet 1 and sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4. You could have a sheet for each student name, John Smith, Joe Blow, Sally Jones, okay, going all the way across here. And you can rename these sheet tabs. Okay, I can double click it here, type in budget. There we go. Now that sheet's called budget. I can even right click it and go to tab color and make it red. If I click another sheet, it really turns red. And budget's my active sheet now, and it looks good. My zoom settings over here in the lower right hand corner, and you can zoom in and out of your worksheet. There's kind of a cooler way to do that. I'm going to hold the control key down with my left hand and then move the scroll wheel back and forth like that. There we go. Looks good. And I'll put it back to like 100%, 120%. And there's my worksheet. There's my zoom setting. And that's not an Excel thing, that's a Word thing, it's a Windows thing. You can do the control scroll wheel for Firefox and Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge and Internet Explorer and PowerPoint. Yeah, very cool keyboard mouse combination to zoom in and out. Okay, to zoom in and out. Alright, and down here's my mode indicator where it says ready. It's ready to enter data. If I start typing in data, this changes to enter down here, which means I'm entering information. And I can hit enter, and that assigns it. I can go up arrow. Okay, and then the last thing I want to show you are ranges. If I go to cell A1 and highlight a whole block of cells, I'm holding the mouse button down and highlight a whole block of cells. That's called a range of cells, R-A-N-G-E, range. And every range has a range address. I've got A1 all the way down to F9. A1 to F9. Alright, and that's how we express that. If I wrote this down on a piece of paper, it'd be A1 colon F9. The colon is a delimiting character, and it means through. So everything between A1 and F9, through F9, and that's my range. I can do a big range like this, A1 to A24, see A1 to J24, it's a pretty big range, okay? And you use ranges to usually to format data, to copy data, to move data around, and we'll get to that once we get over building our first worksheet. You could even type in a range address, like a big address, like A1 to A365. I want to put all the days of the week for the whole year. I can go up here and just type in A1 and then a colon, not semicolon, but colon, A365, and hit enter. And now all those cells are highlighted all the way down to row 365. Let's see here, make sure it worked. Yep, there it is right there, A365. And the last thing is you can highlight non-contiguous ranges. Let me go back up to the top here. I can highlight a block. There we go. What is that? A1 to C3. Okay. I can hold the control key down and I can highlight other ranges like this. And now I have non-contiguous ranges highlighted. And that comes in handy if you want to format different areas of your worksheet. And we'll do that as well once we build our first worksheet. Okay, alright, so that completes our little orientation here to the Excel application window, Excel 2016 application window. Let's go ahead and head back to the drawing board. Let's go back to the classroom here and talk a little bit about building our first worksheet. Okay. Okay, everybody, we're back from the Excel application window and we're back here in the classroom. Let's talk a little bit about designing our first worksheet. Now that we sort of know the application window and what Excel is used for, let's go ahead and design our first worksheet. Now, designing a worksheet can be kind of a arduous task. What I want to do is I have a really cool 5-step process when it comes to building a worksheet. Our first step is to identify the worksheet purpose. Why are you building a worksheet? You're building a worksheet to calculate payroll for your 10 employees. You're building a worksheet because you want to remodel your kitchen and want to keep track of expenses. You're building a spreadsheet to calculate the batting average of your son's Little League, okay, batting average or whatever. You have lots of different reasons or purposes to have an Excel spreadsheet. You want to calculate the car loan or a mortgage amortization schedule for the mortgage on your house. Lots of reasons to build a spreadsheet. So that's the first step, is to find the worksheet purpose. Step 2 is to key in all the raw data. Okay, key in all the names, key in all the addresses, key in all the hourly rates. For a payroll report, you want to key in all 10 names, 10 hourly rates, 10 hours worked. That's all the basic information. A worksheet heading at the very top. ABC Company payroll report created on 1/1/2020. Created by Bill Berquist, okay, like a worksheet heading. So getting all your basic worksheet data plugged into the worksheet, okay, all the raw, I call it the raw data, okay. Step 3 is doing all your calculations. Okay, you've got your 10 employees plugged in, you got their hourly rates, you got their hours worked. Now you want to do a calculation. You want to multiply, the $10 an hour times the 40 hours in a week. 10 times 40 is 400. There's your calculation, which is really the hardest part of Excel. I don't say hardest part, but really the most important part of Excel is doing all the calculations. Getting totals, getting averages, getting highs and lows, all those different calculations that you want to see would be part of step 3 in the worksheet creation process. Step 4 is formatting and verifying your worksheet. Obviously, you want to verify that your answers are correct. If John Smith makes $10 an hour and works 40 hours, they should not have a $40 million paycheck. Okay, that'd be nice. I'm sure he'd like that, but no. Or if a student's grades are 95, 93, 92, and a 91, but the average is 167, okay, obviously something's wrong. So you want to verify your answers, make sure that they do make sense and that they are correct. And you want to format your worksheet. Line things up. That's basically all the fun stuff of Excel, font colors and designs and pictures and all the stuff that makes the worksheet look good is formatting. Increasing font size, widening your columns. All right. And so step 4 is format and verify. And then the last step, step 5, is to print and distribute. Once the worksheet is done, you're probably going to have to send it to somebody, either electronically, digitally, or through a printout. Okay. At the end of each day, you print out the daily sales report and hand it into your boss in his office, his or her office. Okay. So you want to make sure that you know how to print and distribute your worksheet. Okay. So step 1, define the worksheet purpose. Step 2, key in all the raw data. Step 3, perform all your calculations. Step 4, verify those calculations and format the worksheet to make it look good. And then step 5, print and distribute your worksheet. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back over to Excel and start building our first worksheet using those 5 steps. Okay, everybody, we're back at the Excel application window. Let's build our first worksheet using our 5-step process. The purpose of this worksheet, step 1 here, our purpose, is going to be to create a basic revenue and expense projection for the year 2020. Okay. Based on history, based on past years, we have different amounts that we take in during the first 6 months of the year. We also have expenses that go on for the first 6 months of the year. So we're going to build a little budget projection, or a little income and expense projection for the year 2020. And I want to see my overall profit and loss for each month, for January, February, March, April, May, June. Okay, so that's sort of the purpose of our worksheet. Once we're done with the worksheet, we always want to come back to the go back to the purpose and make sure that the purpose has been solved. Nothing more annoying than building a worksheet and then it doesn't answer the question that was initially asked. Okay, Alright, let's make sure our cursor's in cell A1. And basically there's two things you can type into a cell. It's either going to be text or numbers. Okay, or text, I should say, text or values. So we'll type in our little company here, Pacific Computer Warehouse. Notice as I'm typing, I see the entry in two places, in my cell and also up here in my input line, which is part of my formula bar. And when I hit enter, it assigns the data to the cell, and it also places it, also moves the cell cursor down. I click back on that cell, and I also see the entry. What you actually physically type into a cell always appears right here in the input line, okay, in my formula bar. And I'll type in, this is a, let's see, 6-month revenue and expense projection for the year 2020, and prepared by, I'll put my name in here, and prepared on, what is today's date? Today is February 19th, 2/19/2018. Okay, so about a year and a half out, a couple years out, this projection is going to take place. And that takes care of my worksheet purpose. Why am I building this worksheet? To create a little revenue and expense projection for the year 2020 and a monthly profit and loss. Alright, so now we're sort of, have already started step 2, which is typing in the raw data. Most worksheets have a little 3 to 4 line heading up here telling you what the worksheet is. In this case, I'm telling you 4 things. Who are we? What is this? Who made it? And when was it made? Okay, so we're the Pacific Computer Warehouse. We're creating a 6-month revenue and expense projection for 2020. It's prepared by myself and prepared on February 19th, 2018. Okay, notice when you enter data into your active cell, it wraps over into the next cells over, especially this one all the way over here, but these cells are really empty. Okay, this cell A2 here just has a really long entry typed into it, and we can get away with that. We're okay as long as I don't type anything over here. These cells are actually empty. Like if I go to cell D2, it looks like there's something in there, but it's really empty. Okay, if I type something in there, it cuts off everything, doesn't it? Okay, but we're okay. I'm not going to type anything up in here, so we're going to be all right for that. If you want to edit your cell entry, like I want to change this to Atlantic Computer Warehouse, there's a couple ways you can do it. A lot of people click up here, and I can type in the new name, and now it's Atlantic Computer Warehouse. You can double click it, and I'll put it back to Pacific Computer Warehouse. Whoops, there we go. Yeah, so there's a few ways you can edit a cell entry. If it's a real short entry, I just type on top of it and hit enter. Like if I have Bill typed into that cell and I want to replace it with Joe, or Jane, or I can just type in Jane and then hit enter, and then overwrites it. Okay. I really only go to editing mode for long entries. Like if I want to change that 6-month to 12-month, I can click over here and then delete it a little bit. And then 12-month. Okay. So yeah, so for real long entry, I'll edit it. For a real short entry, I'll just type in the new entry on top of it and hit enter. I'm going to hit my undo button up here and reverse that action and put it back to a 6-month. Okay, here we go. I'm going to type in income, and we get income from sales, services, and consulting. Okay, now remember now, I'm on step 2 in my worksheet creation process, typing in all the raw data. I want to type in January across here, and then February. Now here's a cool trick. I don't have to type all the months in. Okay, since it's a sequence, I can use my fill handle. So I'm going to go over here to cell, what is that, B as in Brian 6, and grab my fill handle, and I can do what's called an autofill. And it puts it in there automatically. It fills in a series. You can do all kinds of things, like I can do like Monday, and I can fill it down, and I get that. Okay, I can type in dates, and I can fill it down, and I get all the dates in there. Very cool stuff. I'll type in the word total right here, and then I'll come over here and I'll type in, we took in 20,000, and then 15,000, and 10,000. Okay, so we took in $20,000 in sales, $15,000 in services, and $10,000 in consulting. And I'll just keep on plugging some stuff in here. There we go. watching this on YouTube, you can speed up this video by clicking the settings button in the lower right hand corner, picking like speed 1.5 or 1.25, and you can turn this 40-minute video into about maybe 20-25 minutes. There we go. Do some here. We'll just do 10,000 all the way across. I can use my fill handle and just fill it across. There we go. And I'll put the word total right here. Now down here, I'll put, let's see, expense. We have lease on the building. We have salaries we have to pay. Utilities. Promotion. Okay, internet bill every month. And I'll go over here and type in January. And I can fill it across again, but we're going to do something cool. Let's do our first formula. Delete that there. If I change this to my next 6 months, to July, August, September, it's not going to change down here. So we're going to do this. I'm going to type in equals, and then this cell right there, equals B6. So whatever's in cell B6 will show up in here. So I did equals B6, and I'll hit enter, and I get January. And I'll fill it across, and it copies all the way across. See, that way, if I type in July right here for the next 6 months, it'll automatically fill it in. Okay, so I'm sort of cutting down on my data entry, aren't I? I'll do undo a couple times here. Here we go, and I'm back over here. Okay, so we've taken in, let's see, we pay about $26,000 a month lease on the building. And it's the same every month. Salaries are $18,000 a month. Or actually, I'll do $13,000 a month. There we go. Okay, your utilities are a little bit different. $4,500, $3,250, $3,000, $2,650. $2,500 and $1,900. Whoops. 19. There we go. Our promotion is always $5,000 a month. And internet is $250 a month. Okay, and I'll put the word total right there. And there is our basic worksheet. Okay. Notice we have two things I can type into my cells, words and numbers. Words are always left aligned in the cells, numbers are always right aligned. You can change it after the fact, but by default, that's how it works. Okay, words to the left, numbers to the right. You can change it later, right, but by default, that's how it's set up. Okay, and now the worksheet is basically set up. I got the word budget up here. I'll change it to budget projection. Or I'll do this income projection. There we go. I just double click my worksheet tab and I change the name. I don't need these two sheets. I'm going to right click and hit delete. Right click and hit delete. There we go. Now, a good idea to save the file, isn't it? Okay, to save the file. I'm going to punch the F12 key, and that brings up all my folders and whatnot. I'll type in budget projection, and I'm saving it into the documents folder. And now the file is saved. Okay, so step 2 is complete. Step 1, identify the worksheet purpose. Step 2, get in all the raw data. Okay, now I'm moving into step 3, which is really the hard part, right? We're doing all the formulas. Well, I need some calculations here for my totals. I've got 4 totals here, don't I? I've got totals for my income, totals for my months, then I've got total my expenses, and totals for my individual months for expenses. Okay, so we're going to use what's called the auto sum feature. Adding up numbers is a very common thing in Excel, so I'm going to take my cell cursor and I'm going to highlight, actually I'll do this one first. I'm going to highlight these 3 cells. Remember from the last exercise when we were here, we learned that this is called a range, right? And every range has a range address. So this is H7 through H9. Now I'm going to go up here in my ribbon, that's on the Home tab, down here towards the end, and click on Auto Sum. And that adds up all my numbers, and it puts a formula in there for each cell. Okay, adding up all those numbers. Equal sum means to add up. Then I'll highlight over here and hit Auto Sum. Then I'll come down here and highlight that range. That's H15 to H19 and hit auto sum. Then I'll highlight down here and hit auto sum. And there we go. Okay, there's all of our totals. We took in $267,500, but we're going to spend $283,350. This is our projection. This is what we think is going to happen. It's not guaranteed. The year 2020 hasn't gotten here yet. So, but this is what we think we're going to do. Okay, looks pretty good. Now the good thing about Excel is if I change a number, all this would change. Okay, I'm going to change my January sales to 28,000 and hit enter, and notice all my answers change. It changed here, it changed here, and it changed there. Let's see, our February will be 29,000. Okay, and then our May will be 28,000. So if I change a number, it changes it everywhere, doesn't it? That's the benefit of having a worksheet. Once my formulas look good, okay, my auto sum worked well, I'll click my save button up here, and I'll save my file. Or you can do a Control S on your keyboard. All right, looks pretty good. Down here, if I change my internet to $200, it updates automatically. I can fill it across with my fill handle. Notice I didn't go through the totals, and we're looking good. Okay, my worksheet's looking good. All right. Have I solved the purpose yet? Do I have my individual monthly profit and losses? No, I don't. I'm going to go down here to A24 and type in profit/loss. And then right here, I want to see the profit or the loss for January. Well, in January, we think we're going to take in $53,000, and we think we're going to spend $48,500. So we do have a profit, we just don't know how much. Now here we're going to do a formula. When doing a formula in Excel, what you want to do is do it in 3 levels. Okay, say it in plain English, then put it numerically, then put it into Excel terms. Well, to calculate my profit and loss for January, I would take my January total and subtract my January total of income and subtract my January total of expenses. Okay, so numerically it'd be 53,000 minus 48,700, and I can estimate that. That's going to be about a little over $4,000, I think. Okay, about $4,500, $4,400, somewhere in there. All right. If I estimate my answers first, that way when I hit the enter key, I know I'm not going to get. If I get some sort of crazy answer or some answer that conflicts with my estimate, I can go ahead and investigate it further. All right. So let's go ahead and do this formula. All formulas begin with an equal sign. Okay. So I want to take the total January income minus the total January expenses, or I want to take 53,000 minus 48,700. But now I want to put it in Excel terms. In Excel, when you do formulas, it's not about the numbers, it's about the cells in which they occupy. So my 53,000 is in B11. My 48,700 is in B21. So I don't want to do 53,000 minus 48,000. I want to do B11 minus B21. So down here, I'm going to type in equals, and then B11, in uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter, minus B21. And notice it's color-coded, blue minus red. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter, and I get $4,300, which is very close to what my estimate was, right? So I'm happy with that answer. So there's my formula up here in the input line. Well, whatever it is you actually key it in always appears up here. And there's my cell. Now I can use my fill handle, and I can drag across. Looks good. So I have all my profits. I have a few losses, don't I? And my negative numbers are losses. But overall, we think we're gonna have a profit of $5,450. Okay, looks good. All right, looks good. I'll save my file again. And now I think the purpose of the worksheet has been solved, isn't it? The purpose of making this worksheet was to calculate monthly profit and loss for the first 6 months of 2020, and I've done that. My bottom line is right here, isn't it? It's literally the bottom line. Okay. All right, looks good. If I go up here to my ribbon, I can click File and Print, and it shows me what the worksheet looks like on a piece of paper. Okay, it looks pretty good. It works good. Okay, but it's not real pretty, is it? Nothing's aligned. There's no dollar signs. There's no commas. Okay, let's move on to step 4 now, which is making the worksheet look good. Okay, formatting and verifying. Step 1 is the purpose. Step 2 is getting all the raw data plugged in. Step 3 is all the calculations, which we just did. And step 4 is format and verify. Now we've sort of been verifying this as we went along here, so I'm pretty confident that my numbers are correct. Okay, let's format it now. Formatting a worksheet means to make it sort of look good on a piece of paper. Colors and font sizes and all that stuff. And it's very, very simple stuff, so we'll go through it kind of quickly. Once I went to print preview and looked at it like this, then I came back, clicking up here. I noticed this dotted line. This is my page break. Anything that appears over here will be on page 2. So I want to be very, very careful. The first thing I'll probably do is change this to landscape orientation. If I go to print preview, it look, well, actually we could probably leave it at portrait for right now. Let's leave it at portrait orientation, and I'm going to close out of it. And we can, the first thing I want to do is widen the columns. Every column is the same width, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, they're all 8.5 characters wide. I'm going to widen column A to about maybe 12 characters. And we'll see how we look here. We might have to make this thing landscape. Oops. There's 12 characters. Now I want B through H to be 10 characters. So I'm going to highlight any cells that go across B through H. Notice I didn't have to use the fill handle, I'm just highlighting. And I'll go to Format, Column Width, and there's my 8.38, and I'll type in a 10. Okay, and that wrapped me to the next page, didn't it? Okay, I think we might have to change this thing to landscape. I'm going to go to my page layout tab and pick orientation and do landscape, and that'll print the worksheet lengthwise. There we go. Okay, I can widen this a little bit more now. One way I can widen it is I'll go up here to the A column again. I'll make it 14. There we go. And I'll make these 12. So home, format, column width, 12. There we go. And that takes me, widens it up a little bit. I can go to print preview, and we're looking pretty good. Okay. We can also heighten the rows. By default, every row is the same height. Okay, vertically here. I'm going to go to A6 and go all the way down to profit and loss, and we'll go up to format and pick row height. I think the default is 15, 15.75. We'll make it 20. There we go. Now if I go to print preview, my worksheet's looking pretty good. Okay, my worksheet's looking pretty good. All right, I'm going to hit escape and get out of this. Okay, looks good. There's my page breakdown here at the bottom. And let's format our data up here. I'm going to go to cell A1 and highlight across. And I'm going to hit merge and center. What that'll do is it'll merge all the cells and center my data, my title, across the top of the worksheet. And I'm going to do that for each range of cells here. Notice I can't do it all at once, because if I do it like this and hit merge and center, I'm going to get yelled at, and I'm going to lose data because it's merging the cells. So I got to do them one at a time here. There's kind of a cool trick around that. We'll do that on the next worksheet. And I'll do this. There we go. And I'll increase the font size to 20 point. And maybe make it bold. My bold button's right up here. This is all the easy stuff, so I'm kind of going through kind of quickly here. I'll make it blue, like a dark blue. And I'll make that like 18 point, bold and blue. I'll make this 14 point, bold and blue. And I'll make this bold and blue and 12 point. There we go, looks good. I can also click here, and I'll do some shading for these 4 cells. My shading, or my fill buttons, right here looks like a bucket of paint, and I'll make it like a light blue. And we're looking good. Okay, I'll come down here to my column headings. Now remember, back in the first part of the lesson, we can highlight 2 ranges at once, right? I'm going to highlight A6 across here, hold the control key down, and go across here, and I'll shade it. I'll make it blue, I'll make it bold, and I'll center align it. Not merge and center, just the regular center. There we go, I don't want to merge them. And now that looks pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty good. If I go to print preview, it's looking better. Okay, we're almost home free here. Okay, I can probably widen these columns a little bit more. Let me see here. Let me highlight the, whoops, let me highlight this right over here. And format column width. What is it, 12? I'll make it 13. There we go. That puts me up against the dotted line, doesn't it? So now if I print preview it, I should be nice and centered across the page. Pretty close. Okay, pretty close. Alright, I'll save my file. And we're looking good. Now I want to format my numbers, which is really a big deal in Excel. I'm going to highlight my row here. And up here in my ribbon, remember your ribbon's broken up into groups. My clipboard group, my font group, my alignment group, and my number group. And I've got my $sign, my percent sign, my comma, and two really neat buttons for increase and decrease decimals. So I'm going to click my $sign button up here. And I don't want the decimal places. I get commas, $signs, and decimals. I don't want any decimals. I'm going to go up here and click my decrease decimal button twice. There we go. Then I'll highlight this range of cells. Remember, what range of cells is this? This is B8 to H9. Okay? Always know your range addresses. And I'm going to make that comma style. I don't want $signs. If I have $signs everywhere, the worksheet's going to look cluttered, so I don't want $signs everywhere. Then for the last one, I want to have, let's see, $signs and no decimals. There we go. Looks good. Okay. Now, I want my bottom half to kind of look like my top half, but there's a cool tool that we can use. I'm going to save my file again. In case you haven't noticed, I'm big time on saving the file. I'm going to highlight my numbers here, and I'm going to click the Format Painter button. This will copy my format from place to place. And I can click right down here, and voila, see that? That's a very, very cool way to do it. You can copy your format that way. I'll do comma style here, and if I want to, I can use my Format Painter again. Watch this, this is cool. I'm going to highlight my date. This is what I want to copy, the way it looks, my format. If you roll your mouse in the Format Painter, you get a whole little window of what it does. Okay? I want to highlight it to multiple places, so I want to double click my painter button. Double click, and then click, click, and now everything looks good. Notice negative numbers appear in parentheses, so that's my loss right there. Okay, this worksheet's looking pretty good. I'm going to highlight these three cells, that range, A7 through A9. I'm going to hold the Control key down and go to A15 down to A19, and I'll make it italics. And let's do a new thing here. I'm going to do indenting. Indenting sort of just means to shove it over a bit. I'm going to go right up here and I have my decrease and my increase indent. And I'll click it 3 times. Yeah, 3 times is good. Okay. And voila. Alright. Now I'm going to save my file. Let's do some borders. Every place I've ever worked, managers, supervisors, bosses, owners, they all love to have lines on their worksheet so they can follow things. So let's do some borders. I'm going to highlight this range right here. What range address is that? That is A11 to H11. And I'm going to go up here to my borders button. And I'm going to click a top and double bottom border. Sometimes in accounting, you have a top and double border. Double bordering indicates totals. So if I print preview it now, we're looking pretty good. Okay, let me hit escape here. I'm going to highlight this row and just do a single bottom border. So I'll go to my borders drop down arrow here and pick bottom border. That sort of encapsulates all my data here. And I'll do the same thing for my totals down here. So let's see, here I'll put a bottom border. And then here I'll do a top and double bottom border. Right there. And I'll hit my painter button and paint that down here. There. If I go to print preview now, we're looking pretty good. Pretty good looking worksheet. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to bold my total rows. I'm going to highlight this, hold the Control key down, highlight all this, highlight this. I got my 3 total rows, my profit row, or my 2 total rows, my profit row highlighted, and I'll hit bold. There we go. And I'll save my file, and we're looking pretty good. Okay, let's do one more thing to our worksheet. I'm going to put a little picture right here, kind of snazz it up a bit. And I'll go to Insert, and I'm going to go to Online Pictures. And I'll type in money. Here we go, and I'll put this in there. Grab anyone you want. I'll put that in there. It's way too big. I'm going to grab my sizing handle in the upper right hand corner there. Make it nice and small. And I'll put it right up in here. Maybe a little bit smaller. A little bit bigger. There we go. And there is my worksheet. What do you think? Not too bad? Okay. It looks good. It works good. It's very easy to read. Okay. I know my amounts. And most of all, I've solved my purpose, haven't I? I've got my totals and my profit and losses for each month right down here. That's our bottom line. Very important part of the worksheet. I'll save my file. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to build a chart. Okay, we're going to build a chart. The easiest way to build a chart is you can highlight your data. Okay, there's a couple ways to build a chart. We're still going to do it the quick way here. I know you guys are probably getting tired out there in the world, so I'm going to just highlight my data and punch the F11 key at the top of the keyboard. And there's a chart. And it inserts a whole new sheet, income projection, and chart 1. I'll type in income chart, because it's off the income, right? And I can right click my tab here, hit tab color, make it blue. And here's my basic chart. Now your chart has several pieces to it. Up here's my chart title. And we're going to type in 2020 dash income and expense projection. There we go. And we are, what, Pacific Computer Warehouse. Whoops, can't spell today. There we go. And I have my chart area, which is where my columns are. This is called a column chart. My y-axis is up and down here. Your y-axis is always numbers. You might remember doing plotting in school. My kids do plotting all the time in school. And the vertical line over here is my y-axis. Along the bottom is what? My x-axis. Okay. 99% of the time, your x-axis is going to be words. Okay. January, February, March. Hats, coats, gloves. Apples, bananas, oranges. Okay. It's always going to be words. Where your y-axis is always going to be values. Then down here I have my legend. Okay. Now if you want to, when you have your chart selected, you get a couple extra ribbons up here on your or a couple extra tabs on your ribbon up here, and you can change the style. All right, I'll make it look like that. You can also switch your data. Right now I'm comparing my months. Right. What if I want to compare my sales, service, and consulting? I can go up here and do switch row and column, and that changes my my months now are my legend, and my sales, services, and consulting is my x-axis. I'll put it back. Okay. You can do other things in your chart that we'll do in later lessons. I have an entire lecture just on charts, so I definitely implore you to watch that. But there's our basic chart. We highlighted our data, and we hit the F11 key. Let's do another real quick one here. Let's do a different one. I only want to do the first quarter, or better yet, the second quarter. Okay, I want to do the second quarter for the expenses. So I'm going to highlight expense down to internet. Then I hold the control key down and highlight this. Why did I do the control key? Because they're two separate ranges. I don't want the first quarter to be included. And I'll punch F11. And there's my, whoops. No, that's right, that's right. There's my second quarter. So I'll go right up here. I'll type in, let's see, Pacific Computer Warehouse. Second quarter expenses for 2020. There we go. Looks good. And I can switch row and column data if I want to. There's our months now. And I'll do expense chart, and I'll change the color to green. I right clicked my tab and hit green, and now there is my worksheet with my two charts. I'm going to save my file, and I can rearrange my worksheets. I can move my income projection. This is the important one. I can click and drag my tab down here to the beginning. And now that's my first worksheet. So whenever I open the file, this is the first worksheet I see. And I can print preview it, and it looks great. I can print my charts if I want to. I can print preview my chart. Looks good. And my expense chart for the second quarter only. And that concludes our lesson, or let me save it one more time here, our lesson on building your first Excel spreadsheet with a column chart. Okay, let's go ahead and head back to the classroom briefly, just do a little synopsis about what we did, and we'll close out the workshop. So I'll see you back in the classroom. Okay, everybody, here we are back at the classroom. We have completed our first Excel worksheet and even made a couple of column charts off of that data. Let's review real quick what we've done here. The first thing we've done is we've talked a little bit about Excel, what it does, the type of worksheets you can make with it. We've talked about the design process, the purpose, the raw data, the calculations, the format and verify, and print and distribute. And then lastly, we built our actual worksheet, and we typed in our data, we formatted our data, we did some basic formulas, we used the auto sum feature, we used the F11 key to create an instant chart off of highlighted data. We learned about ranges and range addresses. We've done lots of different things, so if you want to, you can re-watch this video. If you have any questions, you can certainly post them if you're watching this on YouTube. Okay, so the next worksheet we're going to make is going to be a little bit more advanced. We'll do some more charting, we'll do some more calculations. Learning Excel is very, very much a building process, so you just sort of want to take your time, and you'll definitely get it. So again, this is Bill Berquist. We'll go ahead and sign off for now, and I will see you at the next video.